Hello and welcome to Business Standpoint on Citizen Information Network. My name is Ikechukwu Oyemike, and today we shall be talking about 2018 budget delay and its impact on the economy of Nigeria. Of course, its impact on the economy of Nigeria, because by the time the government signs any budget into law, the poor, the rich, the average, the low and the high, they all tap into the budget. That means when the government delays in signing the budget into law, it keeps everybody on a standstill. The multinationals, the locals, and all. Everybody waits for the budget to kick before we all take. So what do we do in the case where the budget right now has not been signed yet into law? On that thought, we'll go on a break. When we come back, everything will continue on this show. Don't go nowhere, because we'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. It's still Business Standpoint on Citizen Information Network. Now let me take you back to history. Let's see how delay has been a pattern, at least in the last 7 years, when it has to do with our budget. In 2010, the budget was passed on April the 22nd. In 2011, it was May the 27th. And in 2012, it was April the 13th. It was a little better in 2013 when it was passed on February the 26th. In 2014, it was passed May 24th. 2015, it was May the 19th. 2016, it was May the 6th. And in 2017, which was last year, it was passed on June 12th. Now you can see the delay. And is it wrong for us to say this is the reason why the country is not really growing at that pace at which we should be growing? Of course, if you look at the resources that we have, we can always conclude, and we can almost conclude, rather, that this is perhaps one of the reasons why the country is growing at the pace at which it is growing. So, who are we to blame? Tell me, I ask you, who do we blame when we have this kind of situation around? Of course, the National Assembly will come and point fingers at the executive. The executive will come and point fingers back at the legislature. Of course, if you look at the whole story and the way it's panning out, it's no longer news that the National Assembly came up recently and said it was the delay by some MDAs in submitting their budget that really led to the delay in the budget as it is presently. Although the National Assembly has finally passed it, but we are still waiting for the president to sign it into law. That means, as we speak, we are not executing the 2018 budget. We are still on the 2017, which perhaps has even lapsed. Now, let's talk about some other reasons that is causing the delay in the budget. The National Assembly have, over time, insisted that the president should change the acting chairman of EFCC, because they refused to confirm the nomination. Could that be the reason? Because the president has refused, and Magu has remained the chairman of EFCC, acting though. Could it be because of the continuous or the regular trial of the Senate president on first asset declaration? Or shall we say it is because of the refusal of the president to sign the amended Electoral Act, which altered the dates of election, putting the president last as against what INEC had proposed? These are just several face-offs between the National Assembly and the executive. And is it good for us to say these are the reasons why the budget is being delayed? Finally, like I said, the National Assembly had already passed it. It is left for the president to sign it. As I speak with you, probably he hasn't seen the copy of the passed budget. We're going to go on this break. When I come back, I'm going to be introducing my guest today on the show. And with him, we'll be discussing a little further on the delay of 2018 budget and how it's affecting the economy, or how it will affect the economy of Nigeria. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to the show. It's still Business Standpoint on Citizen Information Network. I have my guest on the line. Is an economic and business commentator, Mr. Samuel Sama. Hello, Mr. Samuel. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How do you do? Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, very quickly, I would like to start straight on my first question. You remember vividly on November 2017, when the president presented the budget to a joint section of the National Assembly, then he christened the budget as budget of consolidation. Now, in your thought, do you still think that this budget, when finally signed into law, will deliver on that name?
The president presented the budget on November 7, 2017.
Exactly.
And made us know that this budget for 2018 is a budget of consolidation. But with this delay, I do not think that the federal government will be able to achieve, aim of this consolidation, because we are 5 months down already, and the budget has not been passed into law. So whatever consolidation that the federal government might have in mind, I think this delay will have a negative impact on such consolidation. So from my thoughts, I do not think that the aim of this budget is going to be achieved. And of course, we are going into a year of elections that would expect by the fourth quarter of this year that some attention is shifted towards, the
electioneering.
Yeah. And going by that reason, I do not think that the federal government will be able to achieve, the consolidation that has been set out for the 2018 budget.
Okay, let me quickly ask another question here. There is a pattern in the last 3 years, according to budget, from 2015 to 17th of February 2018, they released a report that says that the federal government had spent over 10 trillion naira, and less than 2 trillion of it was spent on capital expenditure. So with this form of delay, how much of capital expenditure execution do you think can be achieved with this kind of delay when eventually 2018 budget is signed into law?
Well, I think for the 2017 budget, which was signed into law on June 12,
June 12,
2017.
Yes.
And going by the comment of the finance minister sometime last week, where she mentioned that with the 2017 budget, that it is expected that the federal government would close capital expenditure a little bit above 1.5 trillion.
Yes.
And then, of course, the budget for capital expenditure for 2017 was 2.06 trillion.
Exactly.
Saying that,
I'm with you.
To speak, the 2018 budget is yet to be signed into law. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Yes, and that as we speak, the 2018 budget is yet to be signed into law. And going by the budget of 2.43 trillion for capital expenditure,
for 2018,
we do not expect government to spend, even to achieve that 2 billion naira mark on capital expenditure. Again, and this is as a result of the delay that has happened, in the passage of the budget. Assuming the budget has been passed earlier in January, there will be a lot of hope, knowing fully well that it will be able to run concurrently with the 2017 budget, and the government will have been able to achieve more.
Okay, now do you think,
from my own thinking and analysis, yes.
Do you think that the face-off between the National Assembly and the executive is majorly responsible for this delay, like some people think?
it is partly responsible for this delay because we know this is Nigeria. We know how politics, run in Nigeria. But the National Assembly has been able to hide under the fact that some of the MDAs have not been able to defend their budget. That is the ministries, departments, and agencies.
Yes.
And some of them have not been able to defend their budget, and that is the reason for the delay in the passage of the budget. But if you look at it critically, some of the reasons for this delay might not be far-fetched from the fact that there's been a lot of tussle between the legislative arm of the government and the executive arm of the government.
Okay, a last one. The last one for now. How early enough do you think the executive should be submitting budget to the legislature, just so we can avoid this unnecessary delay?
Well, when we talk about timing for submission of budget, I think that the federal government, the executive arm of government, was able to put a little bit of improvement by submitting the budget on November 7th last year, and then up till now, that's about 7 months gone as we speak, and the budget is yet to be signed into law. From my own thought, I do not think that it is actually a function of early submission.
Okay.
The executive and the legislature needs to be looking at this point in time is to, set the budget calendar and then look at the situation where both the executive and the legislators, that are stakeholders in approval of the budget will get involved from the word go, so that whatever detail that needs to be spelled out by the time the budget is submitted has already been known by these stakeholders, and then it can fast-track whatever further review that is going to be done by the larger house. Otherwise, we will keep having delay in budget passage.
All right, Mr. Sama, I'm afraid I may have to let you go here. By the way, thank you very much for coming on the show today, and we hope to have you on this show some other time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. All right, that is Mr. Sama Samuel, economic and business commentator, having us there, letting us know at least some of the solutions onto how we can move forward and avoiding this budget delay. One of it, he said, get involved from the word go. Get involved from the beginning. Both the legislative, the executive should all come together, know what they need to do, have the willpower, have the political will, and move the country to the next level. Until next time, when we shall meet again on Business Standpoint, don't forget that you need to keep doing business, because business is what will keep us out of this old shackle. My name is Ikechukwu Oyemike. See you some other time.